Hello world, Liu here with part 18 of the Python from 0 to 1 series, and today we'll be talking about the absolute basics of strings. So here, you can think of a string value as a sequence of characters. So let's say if we print hello world, this hello world is actually a string value. So to define a string value, we need a pair of quotes and a bunch of characters in the middle. So here, note that we can use either single quotes or double quotes. So I'm going to remove the print statement and I'm going to type A is equals to hello world, B is equals to apple orange pear, and C is equals to my name is Tom and my age is 30. So here, A, B, and C are all string values because of the quotes here. So we have a sequence of characters, H followed by E and then L and then L and then O and then a white space character and then W, O, R, L, D and so on. So here, if we print A and then B then C, we are simply going to get them. So here, one thing to note is that we can use either single or double quotes as long as we are consistent with them. So next, let's explore how strings behave with our numerical operators. So A is equals to apple and B is equals to pie. So here, if I print A plus B, they are simply going to be joined together and they are going to form apple pie. And here we have it, apple pie. However, if I print B plus A, they are going to be joined together once again, but they are going to be pineapple because B comes first followed by apple. So here, when we use the plus operator, two strings will simply join together, one after another. So next, if we have A multiplied by 5, and let's run this, we will get 5 apples. So apple, 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 and apple. And so if we multiply this by 3, we'll get 3 apples. So apple, apple, apple. So here, if we multiply a string by an integer, we are going to repeat this string a certain number of times. One thing to note is that you can only add a string to another string, and you can only multiply a string with an integer. So that's it for our numerical operators, as strings do not have any minus, divide, modulo, and so on. And next, let's talk about compound operators. So here, I'm going to have A is equals to apple, and next, I'm going to have A plus equals to pie. And if I print A, I'm going to get apple pie. So if I repeat this 2 more times, I'm going to get apple pie, pie, pie. So what's happening is that when we plus equals to something, we are doing the same as A is equals to A plus pie. So here, A is equals to A plus pie, which means now A is equals to apple pie. So same thing, A is equals to A plus pie, which means that now A is equals to apple pie pie. And in our third line, A is equals to A plus pie once again, and A is equals to apple pie pie pie. And similarly, let's say B is equals to X, and B times equals to 3. So I'm going to bring B. And so if we run this, we are going to get XXX. So if I repeat this another time, we are going to get 9 X's. And if I do this one more time, we are going to get 27 X's. And next, let's talk about indexes in strings. So let's say I have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And here, our simple string, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, is actually a sequence of letters. So here, A comes first, B comes second, C comes third, D comes fourth, and so on. So each of these characters actually has an index which represents the order that they are in. However, in Python, we start counting from 0 instead of 1. So here, A is at index 0. B is at index 1, C is at index 2, D is at index 3, E is at index 4, F is at index 5, and G is at index 6. So here A is the first character, but it is at index 0 because we start counting from 0. B is our second character, but it is at index 1 because we start counting from 0. So 0, 1, and 1 is our second number. So here, we can put this into practice. So let's call this string instead. And we print string, open and close square bracket. So this is how we index, and we put a 0 here. So if we have this square bracket and then a 0, we are actually indexing the string, and we are finding the character at the index 0. So if we run this, we will get A. And similarly, let's say we change this to a 1, we will get B, because B is at index 1. Similarly, if we change this to a 6, we are going to get G, because G is at index 6. So let's change this back to 2, and we are going to get C. So next, I'm going to change my string to hello world. So if I do this, all of this becomes irrelevant, so I'm going to get rid of it. So here, if I index 0, I'm going to get H, which is at index 0. So if I change my 0 to a 1, I'm going to get E, because E is our second character. So let's do this a couple more times. So if I index 2, I'm going to get L. And if I index 3, I am still going to get L, because there are actually 2 L's here. And if I index 4, I'm going to get O. And if I index 5, I'm going to get the white space character. So if we print this, we will not be able to see anything. But if I index 6, I'm going to get W, and so on. So here, let's change this back to A, B, C, D, E. So here, once again, A is at index 0, B is at index 1, C is at index 2, D is at index 3, and E is at index 4. However, what if we try to index 5? So we are trying to index something that happens after E, but that thing does not exist. So if we do this, we will get an index out of range error. So here, if we ever see an index out of range error, this just means that our index is too large. And one more thing, we can actually have negative indexing. So if we have a negative index, we start counting from the right instead. So E is -1, D is -2, C is -3, B is -4, and A is going to be -5. So let's test this out. So string index -1, and we will get E. And if we -2, we will get D. -3, and we'll get C. -4, and we'll get B. And -5, and we'll get A. And once again, if we try to have -6, which is before A, we'll get index out of range error. So thanks for watching, and hopefully this was clear and easy to understand. See you in the next one.